So we're going to go over a few players here. We'll do it every single week. Pretty rapid fire, right? If you want to add some context, that's cool too. I don't mind it. But we're going to go overrated, underrated. Justin Fields.
Justin Fields. So week 7 through 10, he is the QB1 by just under 40 fantasy points. It's insane. He's averaging 33.4 points per game. Their defense, the Bears defense, is 23rd in defensive efficiency since week 6. I think they traded Robert Quinn and Roquan Smith around that time. So they stink. I think they'll always put up points, at least for the rest of this season. So I'm going to say he's just rated. Is that an option? Can I say rated?
Properly rated?
I think he's properly rated. Yeah.
So he's properly rated as like the god of the NFL right now. The best quarterback in the league.
I'm not going to say underrated because there's a lot to be desired with the passing game.
Future.
I think it's a bright future. Get him a true number 1 wide receiver because they got that bum out of Notre Dame there right now.
That bum who is helping him run for 60 yards because he is one of the greatest blocking wide receivers of all time. That's why they got that dude. He can catch the ball. He can go deep. He's got a body. But the main thing is that they know they got to run the ball, and he's a great run blocker. They can't run block with fucking Darnell Mooney. Yeah, that guy can – he's so fucking small, and he stinks too. Whatever.
I just want to take a shot at Notre Dame at the end there. But, yeah, I think he's properly rated.
Properly rated? No, that's wrong. Anyways, overrated, underrated, Russell Wilson.
I think he's overrated, but I think it's because of Nathaniel Hackett. And I know you know this stat. I saw you tweet it, or I think you sent a text in one of our group chats about it. But the Broncos would be 8-1 if they scored 18 plus points in regulation this season. That's crazy. They are first in defensive points allowed. So they've allowed the fewest amount of points, but they're last in points scored on the, that's crazy that you're at both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's a waste of that defense, honestly, but I think he's overrated this season.
Who gets more credit, Pete Carroll or Russell Wilson for all the Seahawks success?
I don't think the Seahawks are going to have any success. So I'm going to say it's going to end up being Russell Wilson.
You don't think the Seahawks,
you've watched those games, right? Like the last couple years, like they're trying to run the ball. They're establishing the run to their own detriment. Like they'd be down by 2 scores. Who got them back in the game? Not the running backs. It was Russell Wilson constantly. It was kind of a roller coaster to have him like on a fantasy team, right? But I think on Denver, he's overrated. Hopefully when they get a new head coach in there next year, we'll get back. That pendulum will come back the other way and he'll regress to the mean. But to answer your question, I think Russell Wilson over Pete Carroll.
There might have been somebody on this podcast before the season started who talked about Russell Wilson and how nobody wanted him on their fantasy team. Over the last 3 to 4 years, and how the Broncos were going to stink because they got Russell Wilson. This guy earns $250 million. And it's funny. I wish I had this guy's name. Maybe I'll post something about it after, but there's this dude on TikTok every single week after the Broncos play. He does a thing where he's been counting, like making these TikToks every single week until Russell Wilson throws as many touchdown passes as he has bathrooms in his house. He's currently at 7 touchdown passes, and he has 12 bathrooms in his house. Therefore, Russell Wilson, there's 5. And he just goes over the data about him trying to get to as many bathrooms as he has in his house.
That's another thing that's overrated. That house that he bought in Denver, or wherever the hell it's at, how are you going to have like 4 bedrooms and 15 bathrooms or whatever the hell it is? That makes 0 sense.
Dude, what if you got to take a shit? Do you want to walk around and try to find a bathroom?
No, the bedroom to bathroom ratio is off. It's completely off, and it needs to be fixed.
How many bathrooms do you need to have per bedroom?
I think there needs to be at least one. 1 to 1, a 1-to-1 ratio. Maybe you have 2 bedrooms upstairs that share a bathroom, right? Like our kids share a bathroom, and then downstairs you have like a bathroom for just anybody walking in and out of the house, right? But there's way too many bathrooms. Who cleans all those?
Not him.
I mean, I don't. That's another thing. I know Charlotte does, and it seems like it's tedious.
He's got $250 million to suck. He can get somebody to clean his bathrooms.
I did see that TikTok. Matt sent it to me. It's pretty funny.
It's so fucking good, man. And it's so calm. So it's like, it just drags you in like, oh, let's do this, right? And it's almost depressing, but it's pretty comical the way he does it. It's so good. So yeah, Russell Wilson. All right, overrated, underrated. Josh Allen, coming off a loss to Minnesota, coming off a loss to the New York Jets. 2 in a row, fourth quarter turnovers. Seems to not be able to win a big game.
Yeah, I think he's rated as well. Despite his struggles over the past 5 weeks with turnovers, he's still averaging 27 points per game. He's the QB1 on the year. So I'm not going to say he's overrated. The turnovers used to be a problem, big problem for him. So hopefully he kind of fixes that. I think that's been their issue the last few weeks. But I think he's properly rated right now.
I don't know. Overrated, underrated. Kirk Cousins.
Overrated. Next question.
So, overrated, underrated.
No, hold on. I have something for that. So he's thrown 8 picks. He has 9 total turnovers. And I feel like that's just going to catch up with the Vikings at some point. They've just been kind of lucky, I think, up to this point. I also don't need to see him two-stepping with his goddamn shirt off ever again. So getting real tired of him, and I think Adam Schefter did that too, like on a pre-game or pre-Sunday show. It's ridiculous. Is that something you thought you'd see, Adam Schefter's nipples, like at any point ever?
No, I wasn't even watching the game, I don't think, that night, or I wasn't watching the pregame stuff. And I ended up seeing the stuff on Twitter, and I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, nah, Adam Schefter just got a boost. Like, I might create another account just so I can follow him in case I get blocked on my other ones. So
he's in good shape. He's like 50 years old or something. He's keeping it tight, though.
Check the bio at Nader8530 on Twitter. You can see the date in which I was blocked from Adam Schefter for telling him to eat a dick.
True story.
Because he said shit about Duke basketball. So, overrated, underrated. The New York Football Giants.
You got a preview of my feelings earlier. I think they're overrated. Mentioned some of the efficiency stats. They're 19th, actually, on offense. So 30th in passing yards, 28th in sacks allowed. So lots of pressure that line gives up. 19th in defensive efficiency. They only have 2 picks on the year. So I feel like it's just a meh team. And they've played the Panthers, they played the Bears, the Jaguars, the Texans. They played the Packers with Green Bay in full no wide receiver crisis mode. They have Philly twice coming up, the Cowboys and the Vikings in the second half. So I think we'll see, but I have a feeling that they're just kind of going to be another one of those mid teams.
It's almost like they have the similar schedule to the Philadelphia Eagles, but for some reason, people think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. Tony, I've battled in my past with depression, anxiety, a bunch of bad stuff. I was down bad. I quit my job with hardly any cash as an adult who has 2 children that he takes care of. Moved across the country without a job, figured out I got a job on my way to where I live currently. You could say there's a lot of things that are just kind of mediocre about my life. Haven't been, super successful. Haven't been like just killing it all the time. You just kind of get by and get by and get by and go. Sometimes I miss weeks for podcast episodes. Sometimes I miss a whole winter or spring or, part of a summer. Would you say that that because of that, I am underrated as well? Would I be underrated? Would I be considered mid, or am I overrated? Just like the New York Giants? What would you say?
Do you want me to answer this?
No. Let's move on.
Truthfully and honestly,
let's move on.
I will.
Go ahead. Answer it.
Absolutely. I think you've had a soft schedule. I think if this schedule would have been any more difficult, you'd be living in a ditch or a van down by the river, Nate.
You fucked hot bitches on your way to where you're at right now. This is bullshit. That's cap. I don't fuck bitches or hot ones. Yeah. Anyways, overrated, underrated. Everybody's fantasy darling this week. Christian Watson, 4 catches, 80-something yards. I think it was 3 touchdowns, 40% target share this week. As the Green Bay Packers beat the Dallas Cowboys. Overrated, underrated on Christian Watson.
Aaron Rodgers just needs a guy. He's had like no one that's flashed or stayed on the field long enough to give him like any consistency at the receiver position. Week 10, this is why he's being, it's why he's in the spotlight this week. Watson had 91% of the routes run. You mentioned 40% target shares, 42% target share. He had 8 targets, 4 catches for 107 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think he could have had a 4th as well. So the problem I have with him, he's got a receiver grade in the 60s. That's per PFF. And if you've watched the game, there's been a lot of inconsistency with him, with drops and running the wrong routes. And he did both of those things in week 10. It was just one game. So I think for fantasy, it might be worth a flyer to go pick him up. I think he's being overrated, though, kind of taking all of that stuff in, right? You should look at the whole picture and not just kind of get tunnel vision on 1 week. I wouldn't empty my wallet, but he could be a second half breakout candidate. But again, I think he's being overrated.
Here's the thing, right? This guy got the stat that keeps getting thrown out there by these, fantasy analysts is 40% target share, right? But the thing is, this was the least amount of passes the Packers have thrown all year in 20 passes.
Yeah.
So the guy got 8 of them. He just happened to have the matchup that day, and it was 20 passes, and 3 of them turned into touchdowns on 4 catches. That is outrageous efficiency. It's dumb. It's 1 week of this, dude.